So when I was young, because of the way school taught us, I grew up thinking knowledge is like a hammer and every problem in our lives can be treated as a nail and knowledge just fixes everything. And of course, I had a computer, basically a knowledge machine. It was easy to read for hours about anything. And especially when my problems were small, it seemed true that it would indeed fix all my problems, having that knowledge. And I was solving easy problems left and right as I was growing up. Hard problems, I didn't realize it, but I would read and watch content on those hard problems over and over again and over and over again. Eventually, if I tried hard enough, I might get over a hard problem, but it wasn't because I watched or read enough of the same advice on solving the problem. Of course, it was because I tried enough on trying to deal with that problem in the real world. And I created my own advice by watching what happened and trying something in response until something worked. It was by putting ideas to the test in actual context with my abilities, motivations, and incentive structures that was actually relevant to me that I was able to start seeing problems be solved. So I wanted to talk about how we're hurting ourselves if we let ourselves believe that knowledge is something that we can just collect. It's something we have to work for through time, effort, mistakes, and it's usually painful. At first, I found it naturally reasonable coming across people who'd say, I just follow the facts, or I'm not biased, I just agree with the science. And at the time, I was too naive to realize that this type of person cannot truly exist because the truth is, I'm either not well read on a matter, have trouble taking a position, or I've taken an existing position or something I've come up with myself. The world is simply full of messy and controversial subjects, and the science or the facts cannot truly dictate a position we can fall back on because they don't have the power to. I wonder if I've ever done this to appear agreeable or because I've decided that I'm okay appealing to an authority like institutions, companies, news outlets, YouTubers, right? Whatever, anything, because I wanted to reaffirm other things I already believed in, and I wanted to cling to some form of certainty because the illusion that certainty exists is comforting. But of course, doing something because it's agreeable is wrong. Appealing to an authority is a logical fallacy. Just because something comes from an authoritative source, it doesn't make it right. And finding comfort in certainty, also wrong. Well, dang, this is hard. I find it'll be easy to argue why seeking an agreeable reputation and comfort is wrong, but why not appealing to authority? There's a lot of good authority out there, right? Sometimes that's how it feels. And yeah, when it comes to solving those problems like learning when my new favorite movie series is getting a sequel, I'm sure my favorite YouTuber or news outlet will do a great job at conveying that to me. But if I'm about to make a finance, health, or life decision and I'm using these authorities, I need to have a bit more care to the way that I just pick up information. The way I think about it is like, are eggs healthy? It's a toss up depending on the news source, their biases and incentives. The narrative used to be that cigarettes and lobotomies were considered healthy moves in the 1900s. You've got the 1992 USDA food pyramid, used to contain bread, cereal, rice, and pasta as the food group that you should eat the most. And now the 2025 USDA guideline graphic, that same bread, cereal, rice, and pasta group seems it should be eaten the least of all of the groups. Even in my own life, looking at things like this, when I was really young, I was a teenager and I had a doctor prescribe stomach acid reducers for my digestion issue. And I was so young, I didn't know any better at that age, but apparently I needed stomach acid increase, not decrease. So, based on institutional knowledge, those reducers still today are considered the best practice, even though it led me to having like a life of digestion issues. And it sounds like that's a common problem based on reading about other people's experiences, that they're getting recommended these things and it's absolutely destroying their guts. So, how is this happening? How are organizations and institutions so consistently wrong? Claims are often made definitively as facts or science. And when I actually look at what science is, observation, experimentation, testable explanations, it makes sense. It has a purpose. It's meant to understand and predict things in the natural world. But the body of knowledge built from that science seems to be contradicting itself. And I feel like that's something that we can't ignore. At least I can't. It seems to happen for a few reasons from what I've seen. It's used for persuasion, it's used for creating headlines, it's used to market products and push consumers away from other products. I mean, remember when Google and Facebook had to roll back fact checkers because the fact checkers were proving to be opinionated? I mean, sometimes scientists, companies, or institutions want to prove something to achieve a dramatic finding or because there's money involved. A group of researchers can run hundreds of variations of a study and only publish the one that tells the narrative that they want to tell. Or we could even look at the 7 country study that was done in the 1950s by Ansel Keys. He was criticized for picking specific countries to support his hypothesis that he had about heart health. That was like decades ago. And it's still controversial because while it looks on the surface like he made a massive medical finding, people today still do not agree with him when they read about what he did and how he did it. So I hope the history we have shows how even things we label as science and facts are misleading. If life throws the right curveballs at you, trying to be the I just follow the facts guy can get you like seriously hurt. If I could just be the facts guy and never have to run into major trouble in life, I mean, I'd love to be chilling right now. But when I was 19, I got this debilitating chronic illness. I went to absolutely every type of doctor I could. They all told me the testing indicated I was healthy and they couldn't diagnose anything. That was it. They were looking through a lens and that lens was not helpful. And all the while, I'm just absolutely suffering. I felt crazy making such bold moves on like my diet, my fasting, testing drugs I was reading about online and in books, but it almost seemed crazy not to do any of this. I had a whole life ahead of me and I didn't want to spend it feeling like I could barely walk, barely think, and be consistently just losing consciousness multiple times per day, every single day. So I voluntarily became a lab rat. I tried countless things. Plenty of them did absolutely nothing. A lot of them hurt me. And after much torment, only 2 things ever suppressed the suffering that I was feeling. I discovered them almost 7 to 8 years apart. The whole thing really felt endless. In year 9, thank God I solved it. I crawled out of hell, blood all over my bare hands, knees, dirt in my mouth. And through that, I did learn to be really grateful. But I also learned to be angry. I was angry that there were all these poor, suffering people who can't be identified as such by the system or regular people who put faith in that system. It's like we've built up lenses that see what they see and don't account for what they don't see. These invisible souls are suffering the most out of all of us. And this leads me to thinking it's true how they say no one can help you but yourself. Strangers have little reason really to help you unless they make some sort of money or success based directly on resolving your problem. And not every problem is cleanly solved in a way where that works out. So career coaches can't guarantee you a job. Doctors can't guarantee they'll heal you. It's just not in the business model. And I became dangerously ill and the doctors just weren't helping. So I had no choice but to face a lot of pain. And that pain pushed me to do more than anyone else would for me. I mean, doctors would not and will not jump through hoops. I'm glad that I had some of the help that I did from good family, good friends. I'm grateful I had God. But on an earthly level, most of the time it felt like it was up to me and me only. The doctors just had no incentive to save me. What sort of prize would they even win if they did? Feeling good? What sort of prize would they win if they didn't save me? I mean, actual money. I mean, if they own a private practice, I'd have to make continuous appointments to see them. And if they're salaried, maybe they're disappointed at most. But I mean, I don't mean to be mean. I have a lot of respect for those people who go into that career of wanting to help people in that way. But I watched with my own two eyes how I'd be treated with those incentive structures in play. And I don't wish that on anybody. Investigation is just not something that they're incentivized to do. I mean, they're incentivized to have a need for speed. And often they'll try to give you the most institutionally accepted response and get out of there as soon as possible because that's just the way that the business works. I just want to be careful out there, really, is all. Whether your info comes from those knowledge machines in our pockets we use 24/7 or a higher education professional, we cannot afford to just be the I just follow the facts guy. I know for me, I've decided I got to live. I have to watch my lived experience. I have to do things. I have to see what happens and I have to do more things. And sometimes I'll do the wrong thing and it hurts to do the wrong thing. Whether it was my own experiment, a doctor's, or even some blogger, and I just followed through with it. Knowledge is so much more than just collecting nifty factoids and beliefs. And I'm sure I'll collect more knowledge, but what you do with it is the weighty piece. It's easy to have the illusion of control and strength when you're just collecting. You're just sitting there collecting. But living it proves, at least to me, that I ain't so tough. I go out and I act on my beliefs, and sometimes I'm going to get my teeth kicked in. It's something we have to work for, as I said, through time, effort, mistakes, and it's usually painful. Maybe this is how knowledge becomes wisdom in my mind. Let me know what you think, though. If this is something you've experienced or if this has you thinking any differently, I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for hearing me out.